And it's a profession where everybody kind of thinks they can do what you do a little bit, because some people play sports growing up, so they think I can do what he does, so everybody kind of has an opinion on what you do. So coaching is unique in that you're getting judged in real time. When I go to the dentist, I don't have a suggestion on how he should attack cleaning my teeth, or do I want to tell him, hey, you should use that pick instead of this pick, or why don't we floss now? And so it is interesting from that perspective. And it is, I think, one of the things I maybe struggle with most in coaching is you are getting judged in real time.
Welcome back to the Look Around podcast here in the office of Coach Brett Ballard here with the Washburn Ichabods right here in Lee Arena. Court right behind us. Watching some guys get a little summer run in. It's an exciting time to be here at Washburn. So, Coach, thanks so much for taking some time to sit down with us.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks for coming to the office. I got an unbelievable view here of Lee Arena. Very blessed, and great setup here. Know both of you guys. Appreciate what both of you guys do in this community, and so really appreciate you having me on, and excited to talk today.
Absolutely.
Dude, absolutely, man. Feelings mutual. Appreciate what you do. We're excited to get into it.
No doubt. So I guess just give us a little bit of your backstory for people who may not be as familiar with you and your story. How'd you end up at Washburn? What was that journey like for you, being in Hutch, and then, the path you've kind of taken to get here? Fill us in a little on that.
Yeah, so grew up in Hutchinson, Kansas, middle of the state, and so was a Kansas kid. Out of high school, I went to junior college. That's where I got recruited to. And then after junior college, I was getting recruited by a lot of D2s, NEIs, and some low D1s. And it was kind of a tough decision on what I really wanted that next step to be. I ended up deciding that going to Kansas and being a preferred walk-on was the best path for me. I knew I wanted to coach. My dad was a coach and a teacher. I knew I wanted to coach, and at that time I wanted to teach. So I was like, let me go to Kansas, try to be on the basketball team there. I was always a Jayhawk fan. Knew that experience would be great, but also I just thought long-term being under Coach Williams would be very beneficial to me as a coach. Obviously worked out way better than I could have ever imagined. Went there as a walk-on, ended up earning a scholarship, got to play, had a great experience, and all of that was phenomenal. Coach Williams leaves the year after my senior year, and Coach Self comes in. And so I go in, and Coach's staff was full, but he met with me, and it was about 3 weeks after he got the job. It was awesome. He actually took the time to meet with me. And,
wow, seriously.
And he goes, hey, I don't have a spot for you, but if you want to come around and volunteer, you're welcome to come around anytime. So I remember calling my dad, and I was like, hey, he doesn't have anything, for me. And he goes, well, what'd he say? And he goes, well, he said, I'd come volunteer. He goes, why would you not go do that? So anyways, I end up going and just coming around the office and volunteering for Coach Self's staff the first year. And basically, I don't even know, half the time Coach even I was there. I was just like, they're probably like, who's this guy that keeps showing up? Like what is this guy doing here, And half the days I showed up, I don't think I did anything. I was just there. But right before the first game, they were meeting. The staff was meeting in a room next to where I was kind of there. There's a little office space, and I could hear their meeting, and they're like, well, who's going to film our games, this year? And they're like, well, we could get a manager to do it, blah, blah, blah. So I kind of poked my head in. I said, hey, I'll film the games for you guys. I'm like, oh, yeah, that'd be great. You can do it. So
they're like, what's your name again?
Yeah. Well, thanks. Appreciate it. Give me some coffee, And so the good thing about that was then I was kind of in. So I got to go to all the home games, and I got to travel. So now I'm on the road with them because I had to go film. And at that time, that was kind of, well, at least I thought it was a really important job. So anyways, I started off doing that, volunteer. Coach had a guy leave. I got bumped into the video position. Then I was in the director of ops position. So I did a lot of the behind the scenes stuff at Kansas.
So was that the point where you were like officially you had a job?
Yeah.
Or is it when you volunteered to film? Is that when you like officially got a job?
I wasn't officially getting paid. So John, that's a great, if you'd ask my wife, she would say, she's like, hey, when are we going to start making some income from this? She's looking like, this is great that you're up there at Kansas every day, but like, we got to pay some bills. So,
we're eating ramen every day.
Yeah. So I would say, I was official when I started filming, I guess, but I don't know that I was getting a paycheck from University of Kansas until a year later.
Wow.
But the entire time during that, I'm getting I played for Coach Williams, who's an All-Fame coach, and I'm around Coach Self every day, who's one of the best to ever do it. So I'm getting a master's class every day in how you run a program.
Seriously. That's amazing.
So I'm there at Kansas for 7 years. Great experience. 2008 win the championship, all the stuff. It's great. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I'm like, at Kansas, life is great, and everything's rolling. I'm making solid money. Coach Self's great to work for. I'm in Lawrence, all that. But I knew, like, okay, there's a next step to this. I didn't necessarily want to be an ops guy the rest of my life.
Right.
And so the opportunities were either, okay, go take an assistant job someplace else around the country, or stay at Kansas. Those were kind of the two options. And I didn't really want to leave Lawrence. And, I'm going to go take an assistant job at a school and probably go, 10-20 and not win as much and try to build a program, which is fine. So it was a really hard decision. Baker University job opened up, and I knew an athletic trainer there, and was a friend of mine. She had worked our camp. She goes, hey, you should apply for this job. I'm like, and I feel bad even saying this now. I was like, I'm not going to Baker from Kansas. That was my mentality.
Yeah.
And she goes, just apply and look at it. She's going to be a good experience to go through the process. Long story short, I apply, I get an interview, I go on campus. I love it.
Wow.
And great people there. And so I go back, and at the very end of the interview day, everything's going great. I said, hey, how much is the salary? And they tell me the number, which was half of what I was making at Kansas. So I'm like, oh, no. So
your wife's going to love that.
Exactly. So now the whole drive home, I'm okay. How am I going to lay this out to my wife, Kelly, who's and so I go, and I was like, hey, it's great. I'm building it up, pumping it up. I'm telling her all the positives.
Yeah,
and I said, hey, by the way, and she looks at me like, what? And we had just had a baby, and, so
diapers don't buy themselves.
no kidding. So she was great. She said, you know what, if you're convicted, you think this is the right step, we'll figure it out. So I take the job. It was the best decision of my life. The kids there, the players there, amazing experience. So I'm there for 2 years. Coach Manning gets a head coaching job at Tulsa. I'd work with Danny Manning at Kansas. He wants me to come be an assistant. Again, I'm going to triple my salary. And not that was the only reason, but just a good situation. And so I made a really tough decision to leave Baker. It was honestly telling those kids I was leaving probably the hardest day in coaching that I've had.
Wow.
Tulsa with Coach Manning for 2 years. Then we went to Wake Forest out in North Carolina, was there for 3 years. The Washburn job opens, and I had heard Coach Shipman kind of announced early in the year that he was going to leave. October, November, I heard about it. And right away, I was like, man, that's an unbelievable. I knew this was a great job. And I knew a lot about Washburn, a Kansas kid. Fast forward, I was able to get the interview. Very, very, very fortunate to get this job. And now, 6 years later, here we are.
What was it about the Washburn position? Was it closer to home, or did you know much about Washburn before, as a university in the program, or you know what I'm saying? What was it about you that really attracted you to this spot?
I think it being close to home was sort of icing on the cake for us.
Yeah.
My wife has family here. I have family here. So that was good. But I think that I knew this. And then once you kind of research and get into it, just Washburn is a special place. The leadership here and the people here are really, really special. And so once I started looking into it, I knew the basketball tradition was here, and that was important to me.
Yeah.
I
mean, coming from KU.
Yeah, and I think ultimately as a coach, you want to go someplace where you have an infrastructure where you could potentially win. And I really felt like they had done that here and had that here. I thought that from a basketball program standpoint, it was just in a really good place.
Wow.
And so that was the main thing. And then, hand in hand with that, then I needed to make a decision that was best for my family. I had 3 kids at the time that we made the move here. And for my wife, I wanted to make sure it made sense for us. And, when I talked to people about Topeka, it was interesting because I think that you had a few people that weren't really in Topeka that were like, you don't want to live in Topeka, and try to cut Topeka down. But when you really talk to the people that were actually in Topeka, and I did because I wanted to make sure this made sense for my family, they're like, Coach, it's great. Topeka is great. There's so you hear about the negatives, and people, it's just life. Everybody wants, the news is, you turn on the news, and that's just what it is. people get so stuck on when negative things happen, and that's what they want to talk about. But when I talk to the people that are actually in Topeka, like, Coach, this is a great place to raise a family. I think you're going to love the environment here, and I think your kids are going to thrive. And so ultimately that really helped make the decision. And so it was a number of factors, but it's been everything that we hoped for and then some, both from my family and for the from a basketball program perspective. And,
just incredible success.
Happy we made the decision.
Here. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. You think about the footsteps you've kind of walked in and the people you've learned from. And,
I know,
and even Coach Chipman in his own right. He's not like Roy Williams or Bill Self, but at a D2 level, it's a really respected, long-term, very successful kind of guy. And you got to kind of follow in his shoes. What was that like, kind of coming in where you're following the guy who's the best guy that's ever been here at that point?
No. Well, his name's on the court.
Right.
I joke sometimes,
job.
you walk out there every day and that's who you're trying to replace.
Yeah.
I joke. I told the AD, can we cover that up during practices so I don't feel as much pressure?
I'm not as insecure about
it. Because Coach Shipman, you said, especially at the Division II level, one of the all-time greats.
Yeah.
Won a championship here, a lot of conference championships.
Wow.
High level coach, and he's been great. In the transition. For me, I didn't think about that much, to be honest with you. I've always bet on myself. And I've never worried too much about things I can't control. And I've always felt like I've been really blessed with a lot of opportunities, but I will say I'm proud of the fact that I've taken advantage of the opportunities I've been given.
Yeah.
And we don't know how many opportunities we're going to get, and I've certainly been given more than the average person. I can acknowledge that. And I tell our players this all the time, when you do get an opportunity, it's about taking advantage of that,
right.
making the most of that.
Yeah.
And so for me, what Coach Shipman did here and the tradition here is great. And I knew that the expectation level would be what it was. But that's what I want. I mean, to me, I want to go someplace where that is the expectation, and let me see if I can build on. Let me challenge myself every day to see if we can build on that. And it's not easy. And I'm proud of what we've done, and we still got more work to do. But for me, yes, it does add some added stress or pressure in some ways, but I try to concentrate on things I can control. And again, you try to bring the right people in the program and build off of that.
Yeah.
Man, the thing that sticks out to me about your story that, there's so many elements, but one, it seems like a really key moment. And I wonder if you feel this way as well, but a key moment seems to be when you graduate, there's no job for you. And he's like, well, you can come volunteer. And it's like, what if you didn't? Like, where would you be today? It's kind of wild to think about. Like, you say, hey, well, I would rather volunteer and be around this all-star level coach and see what happens. And then the moment where you're in the other room and you hear them, like, who's going to film, you could have easily just sat on your hands, like, we'll see what happens,
But
you're just like, hey, there's an opportunity, I'm going to see what happens. And you're like, hey, I'll film.
Yeah.
And that, like, there are other factors, obviously, like you played at KU.
Sure.
But the fact that you, like, poked your head in that door seems to be like, if that didn't happen, would you be here today?
Yeah, like in the movie of your life, that's a core scene.
Yeah.
Probably didn't even feel like that when you did it. It was just a moment.
I think it goes back for me. So my family in Kansas, it's kind of funny, but we joke, you either farm or you taught. So I have a family.
Wait, you farm or what?
You teach.
Oh, yeah.
Or you teach. I should have said that better. So
no.
I have farmers in my farmers, and the rest of my family, pretty much everybody teaches.
Wow.
And so that was always sort of the path I felt like I was going to be on. And I do think about, okay, what if I wouldn't have volunteered, and what would my life look like? I think I would probably right now be a high school coach and teacher. And to be honest with you, I think I'd still be living an amazing life.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. I always think that, you got to pivot in life. You just never know what the past's going to look like. I just want to make the best out of the most out of my path, whatever way that may lead. And so I do think about that, and I'm very grateful that I did take that leap and took the opportunity to volunteer and film and all that. But I also think that even if that wouldn't have played out, I was going to get degree in teaching, and I think that would have been an amazing experience too, to be able to influence kids.
It's so
through
true.
that path.
It's an interesting point you bring up. Like, how many times do we get really? It's kind of a deep thing, but like how we get so caught up on like the surface level accolades and the shiny parts of life. Like, oh, I need to achieve this and achieve that, and obviously it's good. It's not like bad to do that, but like how much more of life is just like about the kind of a man you're becoming.
Yeah.
You know, like, man, like, you know, say you didn't have this trophy behind you, you're in some town no one's heard of teaching, coaching high school kids, but you're still a high quality man. You're going to be making a great impact there. I mean, man, there's something to that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm reading a book right now, and it talks about pride. And it talks about, especially in our society right now, how it's maybe the most influential sin that we have, because of how all of our lives are put out there in front of everybody on social media. And so we're constantly comparing ourselves to everybody else. And it's really good. And so you got me thinking, you know, I struggle with this for sure, because I think that just like my ego gets involved, and you want to, you know, there's a certain part of you that, you know, wants to be recognized for things, or there's
absolutely.
a status thing, or a money thing, or, you know, whatever that may be, that when pride gets involved. But ultimately the book's talking about, you know, when it's all said and done, that stuff doesn't really matter if you're not the right person inside.
It's so
Are
true.
you present every day? Are you impacting every day? And so I struggle with this on one hand, and I don't on the other, because I've never really cared about level or status, or, to me, and again, I think this goes back to my family, if a job needs to be done, let's get it done. I'll give you an example. Like when I was at Baker, we had one gym, and they used it all day long for classes. So by the time we practiced, the gym floor every day was a disaster with, you know, dirt and everything from the outside, especially in the wintertime, snow and stuff. Well, I had a grad assistant, and unfortunately didn't work out, and they had to leave. So like I'm basically a one-man show over there. So every day before practice, I would get towels, I'd wet them down, I'd rig them out, put them on the mop, and I'd mop the floor. And like it was a little bit of pain because it took up time. Yeah. But like people would come in the gym like, Coach, you're mopping the floor? Like, yeah. Like I got to get to, if I don't mop the floor, guys slipping aside around on practice. So just, again, I'm not always perfect with that. And I'm still growing. And I think pride still gets the best of me at times. You know, and I think the opposite side of pride sometimes is righteousness. So then sometimes, you know, all right, I'm not being prideful, but now I'm judging others because I think I do it better than them.
Like self-righteous.
And I think so you kind of like flip from being prideful and wanting all this stuff, and then when you don't want all this stuff and you're like, well, I don't need any of that.
You're like, look how humble I am.
Yeah, look how humble you are. I think it's a constant teeter-totter for me in life of, all right, I'm being prideful right now. I'm worried about this or that. Or now I'm being righteous and I'm judging the other people because they want something that I don't feel like I need.
Yeah. Wow. Man, I appreciate just the vulnerability there, man. I think, man, that talks. And I heard somebody say, people don't want leaders that are right all the time. They want a leader who's real. And man, I just appreciate that. Like the fact that you're like, man, here's how it is. Here's how I'm showing up. Here's how I'm trying to, you know, work through things. And man, that goes a long ways, you know. It seems like, you know, we know a few of your guys, and they seem to have a lot of trust in you, seem to really respect you and the program that you've cultivated, you know, and man, it's just cool. Yeah. So could we go back a little bit? I know, Ryan, you were thinking about just you've come up under some pretty amazing coaching with Roy and Bill Self and even getting to play with Danny Manning.
Yeah, so I hadn't even considered this, and we don't have to talk about this for a long time. I could talk KU hoops all day, but
this just becomes Ryan's KU podcast.
The strange dynamic that it's well publicized in the locker room at the transition between Roy and Bill. Yeah, did you feel like you had a kind of a unique role in smoothing that out during that time?
No question. That's a great question, and I don't know if anybody's asked me about that. That's a really good question. Way better than John's question. So
cut my part out.
Now I got some of that pride over there.
It was tough because so I played with Wayne Simeon, Aaron Miles, Keith Langford were on with me, and then they transitioned to a new coach. Aaron Miles, Keith Langford, Wayne Simeon are coming off back-to-back Final Fours under Coach Williams. Coach Self comes in, and a lot of things were the same. You know, those guys are very similar in a lot of ways. You know, how they run a program, very, very similar, which is why they're successful, I think, in some ways. But also these little differences. And change is hard on all of us. Yeah. Change is really hard on 20-year-old kids. And especially change when it's like, yo, you've been
at the mountaintop already,
and we're gonna change this. You know, they're thinking, why don't we just do it exactly how we did before?
Yeah.
Well, and Coach Self, to his credit, did sort of bend a little bit and try to give a little bit to those guys, because he understood, like, okay, these guys have been really successful. What can we take and give? And so to his credit, it was good, but it was still some butting of the heads going on. And then we hit we were successful, but you still have a little bit of adversity that goes on in any season. And so I'm kind of in the middle of all that. And again, to Coach Self's credit, he understood what Coach Williams did there, appreciated it, and he's just trying to preach to the guys, hey, just believe in me and stick through it. Mm-hmm. And to the guys' credit, you know, for the most part, they were open to what he was trying to get him to do. But it was definitely some times when it was hard. And, you know, ultimately, obviously it's worked out well for both. Coach Williams went to Carolina.
Sure,
right?
yeah.
Unbelievable. And it is, I think it's great perspective on sports, though, because after Coach Self's third year, so there's a lot of Kansas fans that were kind of ready to get rid of him.
100%.
Because we lost to, Bucknell in the tournament, and Bradley back-to-back years. Like, this guy can't get us to where we need to get. And
then you had the Elite Eight struggles in addition to those.
And so there's some fans and some people that were like, we need a different coach. And I think sometimes in sports especially, we need to have just a tiny bit of patience and some perspective on what's going on and what coaches are trying to deal with. And obviously now I think every KU fan would say that I'm glad we didn't get rid of the guys.
Yeah,
he's done pretty good.
I know.
No
wow,
doubt.
That's wild. I know. I feel for the football program has had so much turnover with KU, and it seems like there's so much pressure on that first year for whoever comes in. Like, hey, you have 12 months to turn this thing around or you're gone.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, can anyone live up to that? Like, if you had the best coach, could they do that in 1 year?
It's really hard.
Man.
Coaching is interesting because it's one of the professions where you are getting judged in real time.
Yep.
On how you perform. And it's a profession where everybody kind of thinks they can do what you do a little bit, because some people play sports growing up, so they think I can do what he does, so everybody kind of has an opinion on what you do. So coaching is unique in that you're getting judged in real time. When I go to the dentist, I don't have a suggestion on how he should attack cleaning my teeth, or do I want to tell him, hey, you should use that pick instead of this pick, or why don't we floss now? And so it is interesting from that perspective. And it is, I think, one of the things I maybe struggle with most in coaching is you are getting judged in real time.
Yeah.
In front of all these people.
A lot of
your
people.
wins and your losses.
There's so much buy-in to the, people have the debate about whether fans should say we when they're talking about their team. I fall on the we side.
I was going to say, are you going to tell that story?
I'm giving you money. That wasn't me, but I'm giving you money. That? I'm supporting you. I'm, whatever. But if you're part of a we, you feel like you get to critique when really it's like, what are you actually doing other than showing up? And even that is,
Can I tell that story real quick?
It wasn't me.
No, yeah. I forget who it was. So we had a friend who was a student at KU, and we know Wayne really well. He's a great guy, and he was around our ministry with students and stuff. And man, we had one student that after a KU game, I forget if it was a big win or loss.
It was a loss, a
basketball loss. And this guy's like, man, we should have done this. We did this. And Wayne was like, we? Like, who's we? Were you on the court? Yeah. Like, were you doing this? And the kid is just like, backs up. I'm like, okay.
No, I think it's again, it's a double-edged sword because you want your fans to be invested. So I do like that. In some ways, I love that they feel that connected to our program. I do want that. level of investment, because there's some places where nobody cares.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nobody's
it's so
saying
true.
we, and you're
Yeah.
like, man, I wish I'd get some people to say we and wear our gear and come to our games. And so it definitely goes both ways. I think, I would just say from a fan's perspective, as much as you can, just try to go appreciate what the coaches and the athletes, how much they're sacrificing to put that product on the court. Try to have a little bit of empathy when things don't go well, especially with 18, 19, 20-year-old kids.
Yeah.
Man, these kids are dealing with a lot.
Yeah, it's
And
so
juggling
true.
a lot. And
So true.
they're going to make mistakes, and nobody's perfect, just like the rest of us. So I think if you can have a little bit of that perspective, it helps everybody.
Wow.
That's awesome. Well, I want to talk a little bit about your success and your time here at Washburn, but I do have
Let's
one.
talk a little bit. Let's
there we
talk,
go.
I think the rest
There we go.
Yeah,
I do have
absolutely.
one semi-KU related question, but it applies to Washburn. What are some things that you took? You said there's similarities between Coach Williams, Coach Self, but there's also differences. What are some things that you took from each of them that you try to bring to your repertoire as a coach that you think make you successful?
Yeah, that's great. I would say number one is it's about our players. Coach Williams, when I got to Kansas, I was the 15th guy on the roster. McDonald's All-American, McDonald's All-American, McDonald's All-American, McDonald's All-American, 4-star, 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 and then, me, basically. And so I'm going and thinking, I didn't know what to think, but what I found out was he coached me and treated me just like any of the other guys.
Wow.
And that really stuck out to me, and I've always tried to carry that on. I think it's easier for me being a walk-on, but whether you're the guy that's averaging 20 a game or whether you're the guy that hardly plays at the end, I think everybody provides value to the program. And I think that probably could be replicated for any organization, whether you're the CEO or you're mid-level or, you're just starting out. I think you try to make sure everybody knows that they're providing value to your company or to your program.
It's so funny that you say that, because we were standing out in the hall before the interview, and I joked that I was going to ask you to give me, your all-time starting five from Washburn since you've been here. I was like, I don't think he could do it because he loves this guy so much.
Yeah.
But then I did say, I guarantee you he'd make a comment like, you got to have a guy like Tom Huppy on your roster.
Yeah.
I remember him, he wasn't on the court all the time, but he was just an incredible asset to the team. And so I thought of that when I thought of how you would answer the question, because that's how you treat people.
Yeah, it's so good.
Tom's a stud, and I was just at a wedding with Tom a couple weeks ago, and he's a stud. I mean, he's coaching now, and without Tom Huppy, we don't win as much, and I'm not as good of a coach, and just all the things. I mean, those guys provide value. So
Wow.
What I think from both Coach Self and Coach Williams, that care about your players and understand that everybody can provide value to your program. I also think that we try to make everything about our players. And we kind of have three primary goals in our program. Win at elite level, because ultimately that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to win basketball games at elite level. Make sure our guys graduate, because we want them to be prepared for life with that degree and the doors that can open up. And then prepare them for life after basketball. And I think there was a time when I first started coaching where winning at elite level was about 90% of what I cared about. As much as I hate to say that, and as much as I wouldn't have said that, I would have told you I cared about everything. And again, I think this is where pride can get to all of us, especially young coaches, because I thought my value was in, if we win games, the rest of the stuff doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
But what's happened for me over time is, and I think having kids helps this. My
So
perspective
true.
has changed. Like long term, nobody is going to care how many games I win. They really won't. Like at the end of my funeral, at the end of the day, like people aren't gonna come because I won this or that.
Yeah, they're not going to be
games.
quoting stats from your bio.
It matters, but it doesn't matter. And so, yes, that is still a goal. Yes, I'm very motivated by that. But the educational side is very important to me, because I want to make sure our guys have that degree and what that allows them to do. And then equally as important, I think we try to teach these guys every day through life lessons and through basketball how to prepare them to be men in life and the challenges that life's going to bring, and how do they navigate those. So we talk about that. We walk through that. And again, I think I learned both of those from Coach Self and Coach Williams, and saw how they navigated that with their players. And, what you hope is then when they leave out of here, they come back and, you can see them raising their families as husbands and be proud of having, a little bit of impact on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a perfect transition into, we have this amazing trophy right behind us. What have been some of the most exciting moments, as you look back on your time here? And I'm sure you're dreaming, you still, you're not anywhere near the end of the road for yourself, but what have just been some of the most exciting moments in your time here so far?
I'll be honest, 2 weeks ago, I went to David Salak's wedding. He was one of my players here. And so Brady Skeens was there. Brady Skeens was the best man. Tyler Guyman was there. Cam Wiggins was there. Clayton Holmberg was there.
Wow.
Tom Huppy was there, amongst others. And those moments, probably as much as these trophies. And it was just so cool to see, the commitment that Dave and his wife, or now his wife, Shayla, works here. She's a volleyball assistant here, so I know both of them. But just getting to be around my guys in that setting, and now going from coach to more, still coach, but more friend, mentor,
on a peer level,
almost on a peer level. That was fun.
That is cool.
I really enjoy that part of it. On the court, there's been a lot. I think anytime we can beat Emporia, I'm always happy about beating the Hornets. That's our rival, and I know it's a big deal to beat those guys. So anytime we can do that, the MIAA championship that we won a few years back was pretty surreal. It was during COVID, so we had to play it at Northwest. So normally that's a neutral site. It's a city game. COVID, we had to play at their arena. It was a great college basketball
in hazmat suits the whole time.
Yeah, masked up, all the stuff. It was just hard to even think about what we were going through then. But it was a great college basketball game, back and forth. We have the ball, tie game with 15 seconds left. So we're going to get the last shot in regulation, tie game. We make it, we win, we miss it. All right, last shot of the game, we go to overtime. So we run a play for Tyler Guyman. Not great coaching. I didn't get us executed well. And anyways, we end up turning it over. They get the ball, and it's kind of a bang play in transition, and the ref calls a foul. As they're going in transition with 2 seconds left, 2.whatever seconds left. So now they're going to the free throw line. So basically, and I'm
to clinch it.
I'm going. It's a good lesson in life too, because I'm going nuts, because I felt like we just lost this opportunity, and I didn't agree with the call the official made. So I'm going nuts. And fortunately for me, my assistant coach, they got me back. They got me reined in. It makes both free throws, 2 seconds left, and so now they're up 2. I drove up just an unbelievably great play out of the timeout that I get no credit for at all.
Perfectly schemed.
We had Jace Williams was a football player, basketball player here. Jace was a high school quarterback. So we got Jace. All right, Jace, you're going to throw it down the court to this guy. He's going to pass this guy. We're going to make the shot. That was the plan. I said, hey, if you don't like that, you got Tyler Guyman right here. Get it to him. Tyler, make a play. Just get a shot up. And fortunately for me, my team didn't listen to option A, because that probably wasn't going to work. And they went with option B. We throw it to Guyman. He takes one dribble, shoots at three-quarter court, little in between three-quarter and half-court shot. It goes in at the buzzer, and it was wild. So
wow,
that's one I'll know. And Tyler Guyman, just a phenomenal kid. And so the other thing after that game was like, well, that was a lucky shot. There was some luck involved. I mean, you're not going to make that shot that often, but that kid, if anybody's going to make that shot, it was him, because
TY
he
every
worked
time.
his butt off.
Wow.
I mean, every day that kid was in the gym. So if there's a kid that deserved to make that shot, was going to make that shot. So that for sure.
I mean, I can just tell you from watching from the outside, Tyler was one of the best leaders at any level of sports that I've seen.
Yeah.
Just an incredible kid. And it's funny you talk about that shot. I will never forget that shot, because it's the one game I didn't watch that year, because I was at John's birthday party.
Way to go, John.
And I remember
John's always running
the birthday party ended. I opened up Twitter,
during
and
the
my
Twitter
Twitter feed is just like hundreds of videos of retweets of that shot. And I'm like crying. The Northwest, it's been so close,
hard.
so
They're
close,
program.
but couldn't get over the hump. That was an
Wow.
incredible
John
moment.
is always bringing us
I know, man. I know.
I mean, who has a birthday during the basketball season anyways?
I know.
We got to celebrate
Let
that
me just
after.
excuse myself right now.
No, that's well, and Ryan has been, you were always around our guys and influence our guys, which I greatly appreciate. That was awesome, and came to support it. And so when that's the fun thing too, like when we win, and other people who have been with our program can feel a part of that. That's awesome.
Wow. That's a movie moment right there. That's
yeah,
awesome.
You couldn't. Yeah, it was really.
Reminded of myself
Hollywood
to
script.
lay that video right here over while we're talking about it. We'll show
yeah,
that
exactly.
shot.
Yeah.
So what I got to imagine as a coach, like, what are your feelings in that moment of like I would imagine I'm not a coach, but I would imagine it would be easy to feel pretty powerless. Like I'm not out there on the court able to make things happen, or you're basically playing through these young guys. Brain's not even fully developed. You're 25. Maybe they do things on the court. You're like, why did you do that? That's not what I wanted you to do.
All the time.
Like how are you feeling like in a crunch situation where you're like, man, if you kind of would have just done what I wanted you to do here, like, and how do you coach these guys? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you navigate that feeling of like, what's my role? I can't force them to do anything. I'm not on the court with the ball.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a great question. I got the head coaching job at Baker, and I'd been with Coach Self. So I go take the program over. I can very distinctly remember my first game, college game. It was at Baker. And it was probably halfway through the game, I realized at that point in time how little you have influence, but how little of influence I actually had at that point in time in the game, because at that point it was about your players playing. And so two things that it did, it's like, this is why your preparation is so important, because ultimately it's going to come back to that.
Yep.
And also, I think it was just an aha moment of, I think a lot of young coaches go through this, you think, oh, I'm going to go X and O this up. And again, there is a part of that, and that is important. But ultimately, your players are going to determine the outcome, and you don't have as much influence as you think.
Sure. Yeah.
So my first game at Baker, this is crazy, but we are down 2 with like 3 seconds left, I think. And the other team's throwing the ball in. We're down to under our goal, so they got to go length of the court. But all they got to do is basically get it in. We're going to foul, and again, the game's going to be over. Well, they go to throw it in. We deny. They try to throw it past to half court. My point guard steals it, takes one dribble, is kind of falling sideways at half court, throws a baseball pass to the goal at the buzzer. It banks in, and we win the game. That was my first college win.
What?
So, and if you watch my reaction, it's on. You can find it on YouTube. Like it was crazy at that time. I had whatever million hits because it was like a crazy shot. I barely react because of two things. One, I'm usually pretty kind of calm in those moments, but also it was 2 parts. I think I realized, man, we got a lot of work to do, and that was more of my thought at that point. And also, like you said, I don't control this as much as I thought I would.
Yeah.
And so it's so funny what you think about when you're going through the moment. But you fast forward to when, and you just never know how to react things. You fast forward to when Guyman made his shot, I blacked out. And I'm running around the court like an idiot. And I'm going crazy for about
Jim
10
Valvano
seconds. I don't remember it.
You have no memory of it.
I don't remember it at all. And I saw myself on film, and I immediately was like, oh, that's embarrassing.
You're like Manchurian
I'm
Candidate.
running around and kind of going nuts like 10 seconds, and I get my composure because I want to win the right way. I want to lose the right way. So then I, immediately, and I got our guys, and you want to, acknowledge the opponent. And I apologized to the Coach McCollum. I was like, hey, man, I blacked out. He goes, no, it's like a huge game, whatever.
Yeah.
He didn't care, but I felt bad. But I did. I literally blacked out for about
Wow.
10. And I saw I didn't realize it. I'd done, honestly, hardly. I mean, a little bit, but till like 10 seconds, or till I saw the film later on the bus, I was like, oh my gosh. I look like an idiot.
Yeah, you're just amped.
It was
You're just
exciting,
amped.
and it was
That's
fun
awesome.
for our guys, yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, man, do you want to?
I was just going to say it's been awesome to watch some of the success as a team, but also individually that's happened here. You got, guys like Brady, Javion playing, having great careers. I remember Cam Wiggins hitting like 47.5 3-pointers in one game in the MIAA tournament. And then T.Y. and J. Lou, those guys. But you got some up and coming players that I think you have a lot of bright future coming up with the guys here, and even some guys you're bringing in. I think a couple of those guys had some questions.
Yeah, I was gonna say we know you have a lot going on.
I'm sure these will be stellar.
You have a lot going on, so we have some rapid fire questions.
All right, let's do
some
it.
from listeners and some from a few players. You have no idea where these are gonna go. All right, so we know Levi and Andrew and some of your other guys pretty well. They're part of our church. They're great dudes, and I was hanging out with Levi last week, told him we were interviewing, and I was like, what should I ask your coach? And he said, ask him who your best player is and why is it Levi?
Well, Levi's been here 27 years. I mean, Levi literally, I think he was here before I got here. And so I joke with Levi. No, Levi is, so Levi redshirted, got a COVID year, plus he's playing now. So, he's a guy that could be in college for 6 years. If this will be his 5th coming up, I believe, and could be 6th. But what a phenomenal kid, Topeka kid. So, he's entrenched in this town. He gives back all the time to the kids in the community. Been a stud for our program. He wants to coach, and he'll be a phenomenal coach. But I joke, but great person. I'm glad he's been around. But seriously, he's like 28 years old.
I mean, I told him yesterday he just missed the Hayden job by a couple years.
I know,
that just
exactly.
Came out, so.
All right, Andrew asked, have you ever gotten in a fight because of basketball?
Yes. When I was at Kansas, I played against Kirk Heinrich, who was a good player, and him and I about once a week would kind of get into it. Nothing too crazy, but again, I that's not necessarily something I should be proud of. I should probably I should have controlled my.
It's stories from the glory days.
Yeah,
now.
so it's okay now, right?
I'm right.
That was 20 years ago, so I guess it's okay. But and probably that generation a little more common, and probably one of the good things about this generation is not quite as much of our guys are probably more level-headed than I was, which is a good thing.
Yeah. Dang. Well, we had someone on our social media ask, our friend Larissa, she asked about, she's seen that you've done like intersport games, like the volleyball team played, the basketball team. Are there any other creative ways you or the athletic department is trying to, get students more engaged in athletics, just kind of moving forward?
I will say that I'm kind of getting into pickleball. So if anybody wants to
catch him at Hughes Park,
if anybody wants to catch an L, I'm not that great at all.
After this, we're filming us playing pickleball.
Well, that was cool. So the volleyball team and us hooked up this spring and had that game, and that was awesome. Coach Aaron does a great job with this program. I think that that is a great point. We're really trying to connect with the student athletes here, but also with our students here. And I got to figure out a better way to do that, because I still think we should have more students at our games. And I know these kids have a lot of things going on, but the reality of it is, during our games, we got so many students that are sitting over in the dorm 100 yards from our gym, sitting on their phones on TikTok and Snapchat.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm not opposed to that stuff. I don't want to
Sure.
sound like a grumpy old man. That's fine. I have some of that stuff. Nothing wrong with that. But I think you have this small window of opportunity in college, and I think some of these young people are going to regret that they don't go experience some more of this.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
got the rest of your life. You want to sit on your phone and do that stuff. And I tell our guys this too, but like, get out and do some things. And so I try to, I go eat lunch at the CAF. I try to support other organizations, other causes. I think that's important for me to do that too. And I got to do a better job with that. But for sure would love, and even the community. So when we have kids come to our camp, our summer camps, we have a lot of kids come. I'll say, raise your hand if you're a KU fan. All these hands shoot up. Raise your hand if you're a K-State fan. All these hands will shoot up. Raise your hand if you're a Washburn fan. And some hands will shoot up. But I said, okay, time out. Because not everybody raised their hand. I said, you're at our camp and you live in Topeka. I said, you can be a KU fan. You
Hit
can
the
be
door.
a K-State. Yeah, I know. You're gone. Yeah.
You're out.
You guys are out of here.
No refund.
No refund. You already got your checks. Thank you. Have a good week. And that's a good idea. I should do that, actually. Camps will be a lot easier. I'll have half the kids.
Yeah. A lot more bang for your time,
I'll just direct any parent emails to you.
Yeah.
But what I tell them is, hey, you can be a KU K-State fan. That's awesome. We don't really play them. So, like, that's fine. But from now on, when people ask you, say, hey, and I'm a Washburn fan, like, you're from Topeka. So we're trying to kind of generate that mindset of this is their hometown
Create
team,
that culture.
and they can cheer for us. And so, hopefully then that'll lead to more people coming to games too.
I love that. Okay, basketball questions. Who's the GOAT?
For me, it's Michael, and it goes back to, like, I respect LeBron. I am a little bit nauseated by how much we discuss this.
Sure, yeah.
Because I think we spend so much time, who's this, who's that, instead of just appreciating, like, oh, these guys are really good. Like,
Yeah.
all right, who's the best player in the league? Is it Giannis, or is it this guy, that guy? And, you turn on ESPN, that's all we want to talk about instead of just appreciating it. So I'm a little bit like, hey, let's just Washburn. But
I'm over it. Let's just
Mike,
move on.
I would say Mike personally, he was the most competitive guy I've ever
Yeah.
seen, and I love competitors.
I love that. That's awesome. Okay, so do you foul up 3 or not?
Yes, we try to. I was at a coach's clinic a couple years ago. They really broke down the mathematical probabilities of both, and from a mathematical statistical side, it makes a lot more sense to foul. It just that's hard to practice, and the timing has to be right. You don't want to do it with too much time, so there's just a small window.
Don't want to give them a chance to be going up in a shooting motion. All that stuff.
It's hard to practice that too, because it's like in practice they know it's coming, so you're trying to, and they know it's a little bit challenging. But I'm a foul up 3 guy.
All right, love it. Favorite basketball movie?
Just watch Hoosiers. Hoosiers is up there. I like the original Space Jam. We show that every year at our camp. That's an underrated movie.
It's
100%.
so good.
Yeah. So I would say probably tie between Hoosiers and Space Jam.
Nice.
I mean,
my favorite part where he's in the crater and they're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Fixing a divot."
How much easier would basketball be if you could just stretch your arm out to?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I never know what that. Well, even dunk, I didn't really know what that felt like. So.
Right.
That's awesome. If you had to pick one non-athlete from the city of Topeka to be on your Washburn roster,
non-athlete from Topeka,
like not someone who's
they could
like
play, but they don't identify as like, I'm an athlete.
Am I supposed to pick one of you two guys?
No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll pick one of us.
Golly. Athlete from Topeka,
or just like a random person in Topeka,
city leader, business owner, anybody that you think would just bring a lot to the squad.
I would say, okay, I'll take Cody Foster because I think Cody's competitive. I think that he would be a great teammate, a great leader. So I think he would provide value. I've never seen Cody play an athletic event, so he may not actually help us on the court. But I think in the locker
He's a great
room,
locker room guy,
competitive guy.
He'll be like the guy who's on your bench.
Yeah, he'll play the huppy role.
The huppy role.
Yeah, I'll take Cody. Maybe Cody may surprise me. Maybe he'd become a starter. I don't know.
There you go.
And then which do you think would be better if the average NBA player went to play in the NFL? Or if the average NFL player went to play in the NBA, who would do better?
I think that the NBA guys in the NFL, just because the athleticism I think translates, and like there's some positions where the NFL guys are crazy good, and I'm not. You can start getting these debates, and the football guys feel disrespected. I just have all the football guys, they all joke, "Hey, coach, I'm ready to play." I'm saying, "All right, cool. Let me see you shoot." And it's like pretty dicey most of the time. There's a few.
They will run very quickly down the court.
Yeah,
but
and they
not
can
do
maybe
much.
guard
6 seconds at a time.
They may be able to dunk, but I'm like, okay, there's at some point in this game you probably got to make a shot, and that's not always. I'll give a few credit, but they always joke, "Coach, I want to come play." I was like, "All right, come on, let me see you shoot."
Yeah.
And so I would say the other way. Like I would love to see LeBron just play like a couple downs in the NFL. That'd be so
tight
cool.
end.
Yeah,
that would be
unbelievable.
super fun. Yeah.
Yeah, because like those football guys, even the receivers and stuff are like the tall ones are like 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah.
So like every once in a while you see them go out there and play like celebrity basketball games against basketball guys, and the basketball guys are just giants height wise.
Yeah.
Compared to most of those NFL guys, but both those sports are tough.
I got two to finish up on. Okay,
Yeah.
One, you got to take one guy from your current roster, put him on the football team here at Washburn. Who is it, and what position do they play?
Brady Christensen, our freshman from Nebraska. Brady's got a football build. He's from a football state. Nebraska's a football state.
Yeah.
He grew up in Lincoln. He goes to the Nebraska game, so he's a big Husker. Which we love giving him a hard time when they lose.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And he's all fired up. Got another new coach, which they'll have another new one in 2 years again probably. So, but Brady's pretty tough. I would say Brady would be first. Jarmel Johnson, strong, athletic. I think Jarmel could translate from an athletic standpoint, but for sure Brady just overall.
All right. The last question I got for you. You can only pick one: Coach Williams or Coach Self.
I love playing for Coach Williams. That was my coach, so I love him. Coach Self's been phenomenal to me, so I can't answer that.
No, I totally get that.
I want to add one thing. you guys, and you set me up on a tee for this. When you talked about things that were memorable, last year we had 3-4 guys get baptized during the year.
Yeah.
And you talk about as a coach, like I got to go and see that, and like the impact, that was really cool. You know, Shannon and Isaiah and Levi. And so that was for them, and to sacrifice that and commit themselves to Christ. That was really cool. So I should have mentioned that earlier, and I thought about it while we were talking. But to see those guys do that was really
awesome,
cool.
Dude. And I'll just add on that one, we still hang with a bunch of those guys, and they're doing incredible. Yeah. But Shannon's in Kansas City is a part of our buddy's church, and man, he went over there and he was just telling my buddy, the pastor, like, dude, my time at Washburn under you and, you know, getting baptized at community, man, like, just set him up for, you know, where he's at in life now and feels so positive.
I just saw Shannon. Shannon was at that wedding I was at too. And I saw he posted something on social media, I think, in regards to that. And he's just you want your guys to be in a good place. Again, it's just, basketball is important, but that's what, you don't want them to look back and be like, man, I was miserable. And there's a lot of kids that are, and it's hard, it's challenging. We go through those stages in life, but Shannon's an example of a guy that, you know, basketball was what he did, but it wasn't completely who he was.
Sure.
He had some things outside. I think that balance in all of our lives is important. And so he's a great example of that. Stud kid, and good to see him doing well outside of college now.
Well, we appreciate you taking some time.
Yeah, it's fun, guys.
So awesome.
Absolutely.
And we're really looking forward to the upcoming season. We're hoping to get, you know, maybe towards the start of the season, we can get your captains on the pod and get them to promote the team a little bit. But yeah, thanks so much for investing in the athletes, the students, the campus of Washburn, and the city of Topeka as a whole.
Yeah, thanks for what you guys are doing. You guys are awesome. And this is fun. I thought everything was great, other than when I found out Jon had a birthday during. Other than that, I thought, you know, I was pleased. But no, that was fun.
Man,
guys.
I was just trying to help you deal with pride. You know? That's what I was trying to do.
Thanks, Jon. Yeah, I need a lot of help with that. So no, thanks for what you guys are doing. You guys, I know the influence you're having across the street, church, and just in the community, and we talked about it off there. Topeka's awesome.
Yeah,
people want to cut us down, man. There's some phenomenal people. Some great things going on in our city, not just at Washburn, but in the city. We love it here. My family loves it here. I think that people, when they come and they're here around the people, they see that. But thanks for what you guys are doing to help that.
It's awesome. Absolutely. Well, appreciate you, man.
Thanks,
that's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Look Around podcast.
Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And follow us on Instagram at The Look Around Podcast, where followers can submit questions for future interviews.
If you'd like to connect with us further, you can send us an email at thelookaroundpodcast@gmail.com.